I wanted to do that. I couldn't.
Hello, good evening. Welcome, everybody. I know it's not Tuesday, but it's the same Tuesday talk that we're doing tonight. And welcome. I know there are some people that are having challenges getting on, but the recording will be there and you're welcome to check it out many times as you like afterwards. So what we started on with this particular chapter or series is talking about labeling and how to read the labels. What does all that fine print mean when you pick up a supplement bottle or when you pick up a bottle or a box of processed food? You'll always see that there's a little label on the side with a whole lot of facts and figures and ingredients and all those fun things. But first of all, my question should probably be is, how many people actually read those labels? I know my family always gives me some rather squiff looks because when I pick up something off the shelf, I immediately look at the product label. I want to see what's in it. Sometimes we need to see what's not in it because the front label will often have big words in rather large, bright colors and capital letters. And when you look at the fine print to see what the ingredients are, quite often that big word in the front is the very, very last word in the ingredients, meaning that is the least amount of that particular product in there. And also we need to learn to read what does the sugars and the added sugars and the carbohydrates and all of those things are there for a specific reason because the law says they have to be there, but the law doesn't state how big the writing needs to be and what terminology needs to be used for certain ingredients. So you'll find as we go through this that there are certain ingredients that we shouldn't actually be having, but they're there under different names. So they're lulling you into a false sense of security because you look and see, is there XYZ? And you see, oh no, there's this particular thing isn't in there, but it's actually under a different name or a code or something like that. But what we're going to be talking about tonight is how much quantities of things have changed over the years. So let me share my screen. Once again, I am borrowing this PowerPoint from more clever people than me. So they have done all the hard work for me. And I'm just simply sharing the information. If I can get my PowerPoint up and running. Okay, you get me out of the way. So how to read supplement labels and food additives. And what does that fine print mean? Now, as I said, what we're talking about tonight is portions and portion control and how much that's changed over the years. So did you know how food portions have changed in the last 20 years? And you can probably just say 20 plus years because this PowerPoint wasn't done this year. And this is put together by these three institutions, which is the National Heart, Lung and Blood Institute for Obesity Education Initiative. So some of these things are things that you'll find in the States. We don't always find them here in South Africa, but 20 years ago, a bagel was 140 calories and about 7.6 centimeters in diameter. Today, there are 350 calories and it's about 15 centimeters in diameter. So the portion has doubled. In fact, more than doubled because your calorie difference is 210 calories. So maintaining a healthy weight is a balancing act, pardon the pun. But essentially, it's calories in, 2 calories out. So the number of calories that you take in, you need to be burning out an equal number of calories to maintain your weight. So how long will you have to rake leaves in order to burn the extra 210 calories? Now, this is based on a 59 kilogram person. What I have changed on this particular presentation is the weights, because originally it was in pounds. I've converted it into my language, which is kilograms. So if you rake leaves for 50 minutes, you will burn the extra 210 calories. A cheeseburger 20 years ago contained 333 calories. Today, this cheeseburger has expanded a little, unfortunately, a little bit like a lot of people's waistlines. Today, there are 590 calories, so a difference of 257 calories in that cheeseburger that you would buy from the place with the golden arches. Now, how long will you have to lift weights for in order to burn those extra 257 calories? You need to lift weights for 1.5 hours to burn approximately 257 calories. So next time you order a cheeseburger, think about how much time you're going to be needing to spend lifting weights to burn off the effects of that cheeseburger. Spaghetti and meatballs. Not sure how many people actually have these anymore. We don't have that very often, I know that much. But 20 years ago, 500 calories was found in a serving with 1 cup of spaghetti with sauce and 3 small meatballs. Today, that portion has increased. And you now have 1,025 calories, which is made up of 2 cups of pasta with sauce and 3 large meatballs instead of 3 small ones. So you've got a difference of 525 calories. That's a lot. Now, the way that they put it out is, obviously, this is exercise. Whether it's raking leaves, whether it's weightlifting, this particular one, they're talking about house cleaning. So how big is your house? Because you would need to clean your house for 2.5 hours to burn approximately 525 calories. Maybe you need to go for a jog around the block in between as well. French fries, everybody's favorite. 20 years ago, a little packet gave you 210 calories and 2.4 ounces. Sorry, I didn't convert that one. Today, you've got 610 calories and 6.9 ounces. Quite a significant difference in calories. So after you've had your little packet of French fries, you're going to have to walk leisurely to burn off those extra 400 calories for 1 hour and 10 minutes. So think carefully before you get that little packet of French fries. Now, this particular statistic was based on somebody who weighed around about 72.5 kilos. Your bottle of soda, 20 years ago, a bottle of soda contained 85 calories in 6.5 ounces. Today, it's increased to 250 calories, 20 ounces. So a difference of 165 calories. So you need to go and work that out in the garden for approximately 35 minutes to burn your 165 calories. So if you have a heavy garden like mine, you can probably afford to have that bottle of soda if you're going to go and work out for 35 minutes afterwards. A turkey sandwich, again, something found more in the States than it is here. But 20 years ago, a turkey sandwich contained 320 calories. Today, that is increased to a lot more turkey in the form of 820 calories, or an increase in 500 calories. So you're now going to go and take your bike for a spin around the block. So how big is that block? You've got to ride around your block for 1.5 hours, so 1.5 hours to burn your 500 calories. Think carefully about what is going in to what you got to do to burn it off. So again, a few other things that have changed. 20 years ago, a cup of coffee with whole milk and sugar gave you 45 calories and 8 ounces. Today, your mocha coffee with steamed whole milk and mocha syrup, can you see where all the sugars are? Will give you 350 calories and 16 ounces. Quite a significant difference. So after you've bought your little cup of coffee, you've got to go for a bit of a walk for 1 hour and 20 minutes to burn off approximately 305 calories. And this is for somebody who weighs roughly about my weight at 59 kilos. So if you're having a coffee and muffin, because 20 years ago, your muffin gave you 210 calories and 1.5 ounces. And today that muffin, especially if you go to certain coffee shops, is 500 calories and 4 ounces. So you need to vacuum your house, or the calories, for 1.5 hours to burn off those extra 290 calories. And after you've had your coffee and muffin and you decide you want to have some pizza, which 20 years ago gave you 500 calories, today will give you 850 calories. So now you vacuumed the house, you've gone for a jog around the block. So now you're going to go for a jog around the golf course, and you're going to play a few rounds of golf. So if you play golf while walking and carrying your clubs, so no riding on the scooter, you have to do this for about an hour to burn off approximately 350 calories. But there's the healthy sections as well. Remember 20 years ago, a chicken Caesar salad of 1.5 cup serving would give you 390 calories. Today, they give you 3.5 cups and 790 calories. Quite a significant difference. So you got to take Fido for a jog around the block, if you haven't taken him around the golf course, for 1 hour and 20 minutes to get rid of those 400 calories. And tonight you're relaxing, watching a movie, and you're getting a tub of popcorn, which contains 5 cups of popcorn and 270 calories 20 years ago. Today it's expanded a little bit, popped up a bit more to 11 cups and 630 calories. So instead of watching the movie, maybe you need to go to the drive-in and put the movie on the big screen and do your aerobics for about 1.25 hours, almost the length of a movie, to burn off that little cup of popcorn. And for dessert, cheesecake. Now you possibly are starting to understand where Charlie is looking out for our health. Because 20 years ago, the cheesecake that Charlie would have had was 260 calories and 3 ounces. Today, that cheesecake that Charlie doesn't have is 640 calories and 7 ounces. So you've got to go play tennis on his court at Acres for about 55 minutes if you've decided to have dessert. And for tea tomorrow, when you have your chocolate chip cookie, which 20 years ago was a mere 55 calories and about 1.5 inches in diameter, is now 275 calories and 3.5 inches in diameter. Specifically, again, that big chain coffee shop that I referred to earlier. So you've now, apart from walking home, got to go and wash your car for about 1.25 hours to get rid of that chocolate chip cookie. And if you're wanting to stay relatively healthy and have the chicken stir fry, which 20 years ago contained 2 cups, now contains 4.5 cups, and you've got to get back to your aerobics again, but no longer in the water. Now you've got to do an aerobic dance for 1 hour and 5 minutes to burn that off. So are you getting the idea over here that you need to think very carefully about what is on your plate, how much is on your plate, and what you've got to do to burn off that pleasant snack or pleasant meal that you had. Because if you don't burn it off, it will remain in your system in the form of fat, in potential energy. So I thought that was just a bit of an interesting exercise to give you an idea of how things have changed over the last 20 odd years. And remember, 20 years ago, people didn't drive as much as they do today. Because 20 years ago, you used to spend more time in the garden. You used to spend more time cleaning your house, washing your car, going for a walk, going for a cycle. Today, it's too easy. So not only have the portions increased, but we are spending more, or should I say, less time working the calories off than we did 20 years ago. So now we're getting on to the next part, and we're talking about additives. So last week we spoke about the labels and how to read the labels. Now we've got to start to understand what the information is in the food additives that are put into the food, because sadly enough, food that we had 20 years ago has now been changed and corrupted quite dramatically. Yeah, I'm sure you'll agree if you just read a couple of labels. So basic things like jams that contain several kinds of additives, including emulsifiers and gelling agents, things that you wouldn't probably put in if you made it yourself, but is put in commercial products. Food additives are substances that are added to products to perform specific technological functions. These functions include preserving, in other words, increasing the shelf life or inhibiting the growth of pathogens, or adding color and enhancing flavor for interest and variety. And there are over 300 permitted additives that can be used in the UK. I don't know how many there are in the States or in South Africa. This information came from UK information. Flavorings are not included in this figure as they are classified differently. However, flavor enhancers, which are substances which make flavors stronger, are included. The list of approved additives can be found at the Food Standards Agency website. And I'll let you do your own Google search for that. So if you've ever looked at the labels, you will sometimes see things that have got E numbers. So it's an E163, for instance, is an anthocyanin. It can be extracted from red cabbage and used as a red food coloring. And caramel is E150. This is a synthetic coloring commonly used to color colas. So you need to be able to understand, what do these E numbers mean? An E number is given to an additive to show that it has been approved for use in the EU or European Union, because the E stands for Europe. European Food Safety Authority is responsible for regulating E numbers and making sure they are safe for consumption. E numbers apply to all additives, regardless of whether they come from natural sources or are man-made. So unless you know your E numbers, you won't know if it comes from red cabbage or comes from a synthetic plant. E numbers are individually approved for use in different foods. So think of an E number like a barcode. This means that an E number cannot be used in any food, but only in a list of foods that it is approved for, where it is deemed appropriate and safe. So what types of additives are we talking about? Additives may be natural, in other words, found naturally, such as extracts from beetroot juice, which is E162, and used as a coloring agent. Or synthetic, man-made identical copies of substances found naturally, such as benzoic acid, or E210, used as a preservative. or artificial, which means it's produced synthetically and not found naturally, such as in E234, which is used as a preservative in some dairy products, pasteurized liquid eggs, and in semolina and tapioca puddings. So just like supplements can be synthetic, isolate, which in this case would equate to the synthetic, or natural, as in whole food. Now, we also know about preservatives because, as we know, we want food to last as long as possible to bring in as much money as possible. So preservatives aim to prevent the growth of microorganisms which could cause food spoilage and lead to food poisoning. I'm sure we all remember news reports of mass poisonings from places that the preservatives possibly weren't working quite as effectively as they should have. And they're there to extend the shelf life of products so that they can be distributed and sold to the consumer with a longer shelf life. So if you think about it, if something is made up in Johannesburg and sold in Cape Town, how long does it take to get from Joburg to Cape Town? If you didn't have the preservatives, you wouldn't make a lot of money if the food that you've produced in Joburg gets to Cape Town and it's now off or rancid. You're not going to have a lot of profit out of that. So they use the preservatives to be able to allow the food to be transported by road to Cape Town or Durban. So for example, bacon, ham, corned beef, and other cured meats, didn't know they were sick, are often treated with nitrite and nitrate. The nitrite has a number of E249, and nitrate has a number of E252. And these are used during the curing process. No longer is this meat smoked as it used to be. They now change the way that it is cured. So antioxidants. Antioxidants aim to prevent food containing fat or oil from going rancid due to oxidation. In other words, developing an unpleasant odor or flavor. It prevents the browning of cut fruits, vegetables, and fruit juices, and so increase the shelf life and appearance. You know that picture of the nice, healthy-looking produce? Well, maybe it isn't always so healthy. Vitamin C, also known as ascorbic acid, or E300, is one of the most widely used antioxidants. And they used to say that vitamin C and ascorbic acid was the same thing. So food-based vitamin C and ascorbic acid are not the same thing. So colors that we see in our foods aim to restore the color lost during processing or storage. For example, in a thing called marrowfat peas. And this ensures that each batch produced is identical in appearance or does not appear off. It reinforces the color already in foods. In other words, it enhances the yellowness of a custard, for instance. It gives color to foods which otherwise would be colorless, such as soft drinks, and so make them more attractive. Because how attractive would that bottle of clear cream soda be, for instance? Looks better when it's green, don't you think? Although in some places, most people know that cream soda is clear and not colored differently. Now, these colors are very closely linked to hyperactivity in children. And how often have we given a bowl like this to a child? Because after all, you just want to give them a little bit of a treat. But then we get concerned when they start bouncing off the ceiling and off the walls. Certain combinations of artificial food colors have been linked to a negative effect on children's behavior. For instance, sunset yellow, or E110, quinoline yellow, or E104, carnosine, E122, allura red, E129, tartrazine, I think that's probably the most common one that we know about, which is E102. And Panacea 4R or E124. These colors are used in soft drinks, sweets, and ice cream. Food and drink containing any of these 6 colors must carry a warning on the package which reads, may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Now, this warning and these numbers, or should I say these names, are not always put in bold letters and large writing. They are put in the smallest coded numbers and lettering that they can get away with. The other thing is flavor enhancers. So flavor enhancers bring out the flavor in foods without imparting a flavor of their own. For example, monosodium glutamate, or MSG, otherwise known as E621, enhances umami flavors or natural flavors. Flavorings, on the other hand, are added to a wide range of foods, usually in small amounts to give a particular taste. Now, what I can tell you is that my system does not like MSG, because if I have something that has got MSG in it at night, I have not a very peaceful night's sleep, because it gives me nightmares and vivid dreams of note. So whether MSG is written on the label or not, my body can very quickly tell if in fact I've had MSG. And these other flavorings do not have E numbers because they are controlled by different food laws. Ingredient lists will say if flavorings have been used, but individual flavorings might not be named. See if I can get through the sweeteners quickly. So sweeteners include intense sweeteners such as acesulfame K, aspartame, and stevia, and have a sweetness many times that of sugar and are therefore used in small amounts, for example, in soft drinks in sweetening tablets. And this little graphic here on the right-hand side gives you an indication of the chemical composition of glucose, which is a natural sugar, and aspartame, which is at the bottom. Both are sweet, but are structurally very, very different. Bulk sweeteners, such as sorbitol, have a similar sweetness to sugar and are used at similar levels. Sorbitol is often used in sugar-free chewing gum and sweets. So if you look at something that says sugar-free, my question is always, okay, they've taken the sugar out. It's obviously still sweet. What have they used in place of the sugar? I'm going to quit right about there because we've only got about 6 minutes left, and I'd like to leave the floor open to anybody who might have comments or questions at this stage while I'm still recording. If not, I will stop recording and have an open mic.
Hi, Sean.
Hi.
Those distorted portions, many of those that are bigger, mostly America, eh?
Correct. Although, as I said, I won't name it because this is being recorded, but there's a certain coffee shop that is a brand that has quite large muffins and quite large chocolate chip cookies, and they are local.
Correct. Yeah, no, there are exceptions, I know.
Yes.
It's only that our Coke bottles in the shops and certain things are getting smaller, but I hear what you say about the portions, even chips, fries.
Correct.
You go to a restaurant and meet this huge lot. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's interesting. Something else I just want to comment on. It is so shocking, these flavor enhancements. I make my own soup, but years ago, I liked to buy this little cup of soup when I was still working, just mixing it.
Yes.
And I love the pea and honey and certain things, but you look at the label. The other day I looked at the label again. I was shocked. There's just no peas in it. It's just all artificial flavors.
Exactly.
Pea and almond. It is so misleading, and I love the flavor. Oh, I used to love it. And even the toast soups. You think, oh, the toast soup. I never buy it, but I've just looked at it once. And I was shocked. I thought that is more natural, more like home cooked. Correct. I mean, those are too the only two things that I'm referring to, but you see this everywhere.
And this is the thing, because food science has progressed to such an extent and technology has progressed to such an extent that they're starting to use what they call nature identical flavors. So it makes it taste exactly like grandma used to make, but it's not the same ingredients that grandma used to use to create the flavor in the first place. And that's
it's
what
amazing how they create the flavors.
Correct. And those things are addictive. John?
Sean,
I know, absolutely.
Sean, I was trying to add up quickly the hours that were consecutive of what we were eating there, because nothing's concurrent. If you work an hour, you're not burning 17 different products. And it was something like 28 hours of exercise to burn off what you just said. So it's all consecutive. It's not all together. If I go for one, I can burn off 14 different varieties of food I've eaten.
Yes.
So that is very eye-opener. Well done.
Yeah, and it really comes down to the calories. So, and that's where things like Weight Watchers work on the amount of calories. So if you can learn to read the label and see what the calorie count is, that'll give you an idea. And I can probably find a chart somewhere if I Google it, to tell you what sort of exercise you need to do to burn off X number of calories. I'm sure there's apps and things around for that.
We've got an app called MyFitnessPal.
Okay, yes. Yeah, that one works quite well. And I'm sure there's quite a few others out there as well. I'm going to stop recording.